you can practice what's known as geographic arbitrage, meaning you're making the same money, but you're living in a location that is cheaper because being able to work digitally. The reason why it's so important is because you can change where you live. This is not simple, right? Of course, it depends what you are up to in life. If you're single, not married, no kids, I wouldn't say easy, but it's very possible to change your cost of living just by moving to a new location. But even if you are married or have kids, you can still do this. Let's say you're living in the United States. There's a great calculator called NerdWallet, which I did leave a link for in the description. And you can see what it would cost to live in a certain city. So if you make $100,000, right, you have a good income, but you're living in San Francisco, this actually is not a lot in San Francisco. This is almost considered, poor in San Francisco, but it's $100,000. But if you're able to make $100,000 living in a place like Chicago, you're going to go very, very far, because comparing $100,000 in San Francisco to Chicago, the equivalent would be $60,000. So you only need $60,000 to live in a major city like Chicago for, the same equivalent of living in San Francisco making $100K. Same thing, Philadelphia, $100K in San Francisco, the equivalent in Philadelphia, $55,000. That's all you need to live in Philadelphia for that, for that income. Now, when you have money that you're making online, digitally, remote, you can practice what's known as geographic arbitrage, meaning you're making the same money, but you're living in a location that is cheaper. Because traditionally, if you move from San Francisco making $100K to Chicago, getting the same job, in-person job, you're going to get paid less. But if you're working remote or digitally, you can make $100K anywhere. And right now, I'm just looking at some major cities. What if we chose some, random city in Alabama? The equivalent would be 41,000. So your money goes a lot further depending on where you live. This is a great calculator because it actually breaks everything down: housing costs, transportation costs, food costs. Housing cost is usually the most expensive cost for people. It's usually housing costs. Now, I want to show you something that is a real big hack, This is for someone who might be younger and doesn't have any responsibilities. And that's not only working remote or digitally and moving to a new place, in the United States, but moving to a new country. And there's a great website. It's called Nomad List, and it shows places you can live and work. And it rates them based on, happiness and safety and their internet and so on. But basically, you can live in these places outside of the United States for very cheap, right? I'm talking $1,000 a month, maybe $2,000. Places in Latin America, places in Asia. And actually, last year, this is something I did myself. Last year, I lived in Mexico for the whole year, and it was amazing. It was amazing. And the first place I wanted to go was actually here, Buenos Aires. The thing was, it was during the height of the pandemic, so most countries in the world were closed. So I wasn't able to go to Buenos Aires, but choosing where I wanted to go, I wanted somewhere with, nice weather and something that was close by to the United States so that I could fly back and forth to see friends and family. Other places that are very cheap are in Asia, right? Vietnam and Thailand. The only thing is I didn't want to go there because I know that I would be flying back and forth all the time. Long flights, very expensive. So I stayed in the Latin America area. But if you live near, Asia and you want to go there, you can live like a king in places like Thailand and Vietnam for $1,000, $2,000 a month. Where even in the United States, $1,000 in, the worst neighborhoods won't really bring you far. So in this case, right, of geographic arbitrage, whether it's in the United States or whether it's outside, of course, you're going to have to be able to work remote or digitally, but also you're not necessarily downgrading your lifestyle. You're only downgrading the cost. So last year I was living over here in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, and it was awesome. I had such a great time. I was, eating tacos every day, drinking mojitos. But now here I live in Miami now. Miami, number 2 on this list, very expensive. The crazy thing about living in Mexico is that my entire cost for rent living over there for the entire year was cheaper than my first month living in Miami. When I was doing it over there, I was able to do Airbnbs, which is another thing very important. If you're practicing this geographic arbitrage in places outside of the United States, it's very cheap, and so are the Airbnbs. So there aren't any long-term commitments. So you can move to these countries, pay $1,000, maybe $2,000 a month, live in a great place, Airbnb, no commitment if you ever need to leave early and you want to get back to, your regular lifestyle. If you do, right? I have friends that, were outside of the United States with me in places like, Mexico City and Colombia, Medellin, Colombia, and they don't want to come back. They do not want to come back. Right now, I have a friend even that works, 9 to 5 salary job, and he's able to practice geographic arbitrage. This is not about just people that have their own businesses or entrepreneurs, but even about people that work for companies that they're able to work remote. Again, if you have high income skills, you'll be able to get this job, these types of jobs. If you don't have an high income skill, you're kind of just leaving up to chance to see what people will give you. So I have a friend, right? He has a 9 to 5 job, and right now he's in Italy, right? Right. Live below your means is the best method. Yes, it is. And I think the way we look at this has changed. We used to look at it as, you got to suffer, right? You have to suffer to live below your means, but not in today's world, right? With today's world, with the internet, with the information that we have, with travel, you're able to lower your cost of living, right? But without lowering your standard of living. I would say for many people watching, they can go to a place in Latin America or Asia, lower their cost of living by, 50%, 75%, but live a king or queen lifestyle. So do you have dual citizenship or consider it? I don't, just United States. Oh, and this is a really good comment, because when you're practicing geographic arbitrage outside of the country, it's very important to understand how your passport works. United States passport is a very good passport. So for me personally, going to Mexico, I get a 6-month visa with a US passport. And to renew that visa, all I have to do is leave the country and come back in. So I would go, visit my friend, come to Florida, go to New York, go for a week, come back, and it would renew another 6 months. So I would say your passport is very important. It's hard to move outside of your country if you don't have a great passport. So I guess Canadian passports are pretty good. Certain European countries, United States, very, very important. Bubbly Bull, you're late to the party, man. Globalism is dying. In 10 years, you'll be lucky if you can stay longer than a month in a foreign country. And don't expect to not pay your taxes wherever you are. Yeah, this could happen. This could happen. Even while I was in Mexico last year, I was seeing people. I was part of these group chats. People were getting stamps in their passport only for 3 months, not 6 months. So you're right about this, right? Around the world, it's becoming a more difficult, even for people that live in the United States. But here's the thing, guys. Even if you can do this within the next few years, just for, 3 months, 6 months, 8 months at a time, those periods of time, you can save a lot of money. And yes, if you're a United States citizen, you always pay your taxes, guys. This is the thing about the United States, which I've said so many times in my videos. It's, I believe, the only country where as long as you have citizenship, you pay taxes on your income and your capital gains. Other countries, you can keep your citizenship, but if you go ahead and move to another country, you don't pay, and you're not living in your home country, you don't pay taxes to the home country. United States, you will pay taxes to United States as long as you have a US citizenship, or the only way to get out of that is if you renounce your citizenship, which ironically has a cost, right? You would think you're doing this to save money, but to renounce your US citizenship, there is a cost. And if you have a lot of money, right? Let's say someone's worth, $10, $20 million, they're going to have to pay big, big taxes. Go to Colombia and eat rice. Ha ha ha. Well, yeah, I put that for the thumbnail. The one that was true was go to Colombia. The one that was not true was eat rice. Eat rice is something we'll say, you eat rice and tuna fish. But when you actually go to these countries like Colombia, Medellin, and you're practicing geographic arbitrage where you're making your American salary, but in Colombia, you can live $1,000, $2,000 a month, and you can eat, steak. You could eat steak every night. Wow, young Americans are discovering that there is a world outside of the US. Yeah, true. It's so true. We grow up, I grew up in the United States, and we're always told, United States is the best. United States is the best. I think at this point, what's going to keep me in the United States is what's most important to me, and that's friends and family. Outside of that, I don't know. Outside of the United States, it's awesome. Like living in Playa del Carmen, Mexico was amazing. The lifestyle was great. The people there were great, right? Whether they were from Mexico or from other countries. But yeah, the world is much bigger than the United States. And with the way the internet works now and crypto and remote jobs, people are discovering this, right? I know a lot of people in the crypto space, or a lot of crypto YouTubers, they move to Dubai because Dubai has a very good tax situation. And I always thought about moving somewhere for tax purposes. Maybe, who knows, maybe even renouncing my citizenship. But then I realized that my family is so important to me. So I'm going to stay in the United States, pay those higher costs. But I'll say this, and I'm going to say this confidently. United States, I think it's a good place, a very good country. You know, I'm very lucky and fortunate to be here, to be a citizen. But there's more than the United States. There's maybe better places.